Welcome to the Alfresco Mobile Android SDK. My name is Pascal. I come from France, the Alfresco Paris office. And today I want to talk about what's Android SDK and what's it's inside the Android SDK. So I divided my presentation into 4 parts. So first, a small introduction about the Android SDK, a deep dive on what components are inside the Android SDK, and maybe if we have time at the end, I have something to present, one extra thing I call it, and if we have time and if you have some question, of course, we have a small session about question. So my name is Pascal. I'm the Android developer inside the Alfresco Mobile. I worked at Alfresco for 8 months now, and I'm currently an Apache committer about the Android client for OpenCMIS. I developed this part it was my first task since I'm in Alfresco. So previously I was an amateur in Android development. I was the first that created the Alfresco Android SDK, the first client on Android that works with the Alfresco server. And before that, I worked for 4 years as Alfresco integrator. And before that, during this time, I was an Alfresco community member, and I published some blog posts, tutorials on how it's possible to use Maven with Alfresco, etc., etc. So, in a nutshell, I'm the Android guy inside Alfresco. And this picture was taken just yesterday in front of the Googleplex. So, what about you? I talked about me. I want to know more about you. I want to know if you have already implemented something with Android. If you are an Android developer, please raise your hand. Nothing? Yes? Good. Do you have any Android device? So if you have an Android Gingerbread device 2.3, please raise your hand. Okay. An Android tablet on Honeycomb? Android tablet or any device on Ice Cream Sandwich? Jelly Bean? Okay, perfect. Thank you. So a small introduction. My presentation is not about the war against Apple and Android. I'm not here to say Android is better than iOS. Here at Alfresco, we love both the world, and we may love Microsoft when they release something that is cool and great. It's not a presentation about what is Android and how it's possible to implement a solution based on Android. I'm not here to learn what's specific on Android. My presentation is more like a recipe with a mix of Android, of course, with a piece of code from Alfresco and from Android, and of course, how it's possible to mix them to create a new, very shiny application. So the requirement is based on what your customer requirement is, based on what you need to implement, based on what mobility device you have. It's based on everything that all people have to create, and they want to create and to support all the Android ecosystem. So it must work on tablet device, on simple phones or smartphones, depending on the site, depending on everywhere. We need something that can support everything, every device, and to create your own applications that support everything, that support all the Alfresco part and all the Android device. So our solution, it's simple. It's not the little small one. It's actually the Alfresco Mobile SDK. So the Alfresco Mobile SDK, it's components that allow access to Alfresco functionality from on-premise. So we support 3.4 to 4.x. and cloud. The idea is to leverage all this information from the server to support to create an extra layer that can support all these features. And because Alfresco services has changed from the 3.4 to the cloud and public API, we are going to support everything, all this level. So the V1 has been released in October 2012, so 1 month ago, and it's licensed as Apache 2.0. So in other terms, you are allowed, you can do everything you want inside with the Alfresco Mobile SDK. You can integrate it, you can modify it, you can change it, it's up to you. You can do nearly everything you want with this part. So if you want to download all the package, you have these links that is available on developer.alfresco.com. And if you want to have access and read all the code I made, please do it on the GitHub that is available online. So the question is, what's inside the SDK? The SDK is, for me, it's a mobile tools provider. We are not simply provide the client API, the source code, or the service. It's more than this level. We provide 3 different levels. The first level, of course, is the source level, so the client API, how it's possible with inside Java, with Android SDK, to access all your information that is inside your Alfresco server. On top of that, we are going to provide some reusable UI components. So for example, it's possible to have a ready-to-use component that lists all your activities for a certain person, or list all the commands associated to a specific content or document. And on top of that, we are going to provide the sample application, and sample application illustrates how it's possible to create a unique solution that you can use everywhere you want. So exactly where are we? We are optional, first of all. It's not necessary to use the mobile SDK to create your own mobile application, but seriously, it's better to use our own application because we facilitate our works, we facilitate our integration, we support all different platforms and not just a specific Alfresco platform. So now let's go deep into the Alfresco Android SDK. So what's really inside? Inside it, we have not just one level, we have 6 different levels. So on below, the first foundation is we are based on OpenCMIS Android client. That is responsible to provide all the services for getting all the information from the server. It's the document management base. On top of that, because CMIS doesn't support Alfresco aspect, we add and we created the Alfresco OpenCMIS extension that provide all information, all extra information for aspect and some specific part of Alfresco. On top of that, we created the core, the main, the client API that is responsible to provide all this information, so the document management based on OpenCMIS, plus all the social services like comments, like, and other parts that is really specific to Alfresco services. On top of that, we add the Asynchronous API, because when you implement a solution for a mobile device, you must have an asynchronous API. I will explain later why. On top of that, the UI components, so it's great to have information, but it's better if we could display it inside your Android device. And of course, when you have all of this, you can create your own application, the application you want to implement and to display. One extra thing I want to share with you, it's we use Maven. It's not the official build tool that is provided by Android, but it's the main that is really powerful to create and to manage all your build system. Because it's not one application, it's a multiple project. We prefer to use the Maven part to provide all information about analytics, about how we use the code, and it makes the release process of all versions better and easier. So SDK in figures, the SDK is not one project. It's what is called a Maven multi-module projects. So it's 11 projects. The SDK, the core SDK, is just only 3 projects that represent nearly 13,000 line of codes. To test it, we have 5 different projects, so one for each version of Alfresco, so one for 3.4, 4.x, Cloud, Community Edition, and Public API for the Cloud. And we have only 4 direct dependencies for this project. So Android, of course, that provide all the basic services. OpenCMIS Android client for document management, SL4G for logging purpose, and OpenCMIS Alfresco extension for supporting all Alfresco aspects. So now let's go to the Apache chemistry OpenCMIS Android client. So this part was my first task when I entered to Alfresco. I started in early quarter 2012, and it was officially released 1 month ago with OpenCMIS version 0.2820. As the same as our mobile SDK, it's going to be provided with the Apache license. So in this case, you can reuse it as you want. You can modify it. You can change it. It's up to you to create your own version if you want. So the download package is available at this link if you want to test it and implement it. So the main idea of the OpenCMIS is to provide document management inside your mobile device, inside your Android device. It supports CMIS 1.0. That is the standard right now. It tries to provide the same level of service and model as the OpenCMIS Java client on the server side. So the idea is for the same code that we implement on server side or on client side, on mobile side, the same code can work. Actually, it supports only Android 2.3 because besides it, it's not possible to use some specific parts inside Android. There's a limitation on Android SDK, so it's not possible to go below, but of course, and above, it's possible. For simply purpose, we package only as one single jar file. That is not the same as server side. The main restriction of this part, it's based on we can use simply atom pump binding. There's no web services available for this part. And in the future, we try to plan to support the JSON binding for CMS 1.1. Currently, there's only 2 parts that is not very well managed on this transformation. It's the policy management and ACL management. So one major important point on the side, on OpenCMIS Android client, it's a library that is synchronous. So if you touch the screen, requesting information from the server, and you have to wait 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, because there's some latency on your networks, it's not possible to await this information back. So if you don't wait, you have to create what is called a background thread to retrieve this information and to not block the UI display. Because if you block it, the user experience is not really good. Could be better. So my first rule when you use the OpenCMIS is to sync background. And if you don't sync background, if you don't respect this rule, you kill an innocent Bugdroid. And this sync is not very good. It's not very sympathetic. So if some of you are familiar with OpenCMIS, you can retrieve in this slide what is possible to do to create a session and retrieve some information about the media folder and list all the information, all the documents that are inside the media folder. If you want to know more about CMIS and Apache chemistry, there's a book for that that is currently available, and you can get it with the slide, with the link that is present on this slide. And I'm a writer on a simple chapter, and I illustrate how it's possible to create a simple application that uses the Apache chemistry and retrieve all this information that I display inside it. So what's the use case for this part? The simple use case is if you want data, only information, use it. If you want to access other CMIS vendors' information, use it too. Our mobile SDK support only outside, but if you want to access to other, use this one. And of course, if you have already codes that implement OpenCMIS, that use OpenCMIS, it could be great to use this part too. So now the core product, so the client API. The client API, it's a mix between the OpenCMIS principle, so the document management, and the Alfresco philosophies that you may know if you implement something on server side. So the idea is to mix the two parts and create a new layer that leverage all these principles. And the idea is we support everything we create in server side, and the idea is whatever happens on server side, our client API will stay the same across all platforms, across all versions. We support actually currently Android 2.3 and above, and as the OpenCMIS, we package the client API as one single jar file. So the main idea when you use the client API is to create a session. The session is the main object. You have to look after your session object. If you have your session object, you can create services, you can have access to repository information, and you can manage all the authentication process and how it's possible to access everything. The session is configurable via parameters, via settings, so you can pass some map that can contain some information. So for example, the download folder where we must save all this information, the cache information. It's possible to use it. And some other parameters that you can retrieve on this part. We have two different types because Cloud API, Cloud server is not really the same as the on-premise server. We create two different types that allow you to have more information and more capacity. So I don't know if you know what is Alfresco Foundation Service and Alfresco Service Registry. If you have implemented something on server side, we have implemented the same part on Alfresco Mobile SDK. So it's possible, for example, to retrieve all services via the service registry object, and via this object you can retrieve all different services like document folder service, search service, seed service, etc. to get their methods, use their methods to have access to this information. So the idea is there's a service for that. And because we want to try to have the same philosophy as we have on server side, it's possible to extend it because we don't implement for the V1 all these services. You can, for example, create your own service registry, extend all our service, and implement your own version of your services. So for example, it's possible, we don't support, for example, the 5-star ratings for the rating services. So if you want to implement it, or if you have implement a custom, please use this way to extend them and to create your own services. And because services are responsible to produce object that contains all this information are provided with high-level object that is called, for example, document, sites, comments. And with this information, with this object, you can have access to all your information. So it's our object, but it's your content. How to use all these things, all this ID? It's really simple. Inside your Eclipse, you create or you open an existing Android project. Inside it, generally, there's a libs folder, and simply inside this lib folder, just put all the jar files like Alfresco Client API, Alfresco OpenCMIS extension, OpenCMIS, and SL4G, and simply start coding. There's nothing more that you require to create and to use our SDK and the Client API SDK. So this is a sample code, how it's possible to create a session, retrieve all the information, the repository information object, to retrieve the identifier, the name of your repository, the version of repository. And with this repository session, you can have access to the seed service. And with this seed service, we request all the seeds. We retrieve one specific seed, get the document library of the seed, and retrieve all nodes, all documents, all folder of this object. So it's really, if you look at this, it's really a mix between OpenCMIS and Alfresco philosophy. So I don't really have time for this one, but on my session page, we will retrieve tomorrow a video that can show you how it's possible to implement and to use the an Alfresco custom app to retrieve all this information on Android 2.3. So the Client API, what's the use case? If you want clearly data from an Alfresco server or an Alfresco cloud, please use this part. If you want to retrieve all the ID, all the services that Alfresco can provide, use this library. And of course, if you already have a mobile application, use this part. So Android and synchronous layer, it's really quick and really simple. It's based on what is called on Android side, the Android loaders object. It's a mechanism, it's one of the mechanisms that Android can provide to create the background thread. And it's because it's the simplest one, and because it's only available on Android 3.x, this API must use tablet device that runs on Honeycomb or later like Ice Cream Sandwich or Jelly Bean. And because we want to make it simple as usual, we package also as one single jar file. In this part, when you have to use this API, use it when you start a new project. If you are novice on this part, if you don't really know about what is Android, please use loaders. It's really simpler than the other mechanism, and I'm pretty sure you will like loaders. But if you already have a good experience on Android side, and if you have your own mechanism, your own background mechanism, it's not necessary to use this one. Next, the Alfresco UI library. The idea is to provide some widgets that can be reusable inside your own application, or to create a very quick application, because it's based on the UI, the asynchronous API will only support Android 3.x. But with the library that is called the Android support library, it's possible to revert all this code to support 2.3 Android version. And instead of the other project, this one is packaged as we called in Android side, the Android library project. This library provides all images resources because we have to support different size, different screen size. We have to provide all file, icon, logo, images in different size. So this part is provided by the UI library, and because we want to provide more information and we want to support all devices, we also support all localization resources. The components, what is really important, it's what is called fragments. Fragments are the mechanism in Android that can provide all reusable piece of user interface. So for example, it's a list of commands, it's a list of documents, it's a list of activities, for example. And this one is possible to use to bring these parts and to add it inside your own application. So let's start a simple demo. I created, oops, my PC is going to freeze. I have no access. My mouse is totally stuck. That's very strange. Oops, this way. Oops. The sample app, this one is called the sample app. This sample app is responsible to demonstrate what is possible to do and what UI component we have provided inside our SDK. So for example, here we want to connect it to create a session on on-premise server. So we load the session. And here we have the list of all fragments that can be reusable inside your application, inside your own implementation of your application. So for example, the list of all the activities is a fragment. This fragment can be reused inside your own application. We have a document folder fragment that is responsible to browse all information that are inside your Alfresco server. So this one is also reusable. It's a list view that can be taken from the SDK and integrate inside your application. We support currently the paging. So all our list views support paging. So it's possible to define if you want to display only 10 items or maybe more. And if there are more than 10 items, we provide the load more button that is automatically display or manually display, depending on what behavior you want to create and to support. We have implementing this behavior. So it's possible also to list all the seats and to display what is possible to list. Of course, we provide thumbnails, we provide access to your metadata, to the content metadata. It's possible to retrieve for your document object all this metadata, so it's possible to get name, get path, get description, etc., etc. We have access to all the commands, all versions. It's possible to have all tags associated to your document. So all these things are available as fragments. You can reuse it as is and implement it inside your own application. Of course, it's possible to like and unlike your document, and it's possible to download or upload a new version of your document. So that's all for this view. Let's return to the presentation. So the use case of this UI library, if you want to create a quick win Android project based on our SDK, use it. You will gain a lot of times to use this one. If you already use an application that use fragments object, please use this part too. And if you want to create a shiny tablet application, use this one too. You will gain a lot of time and a lot of effort. So I want to display one extra thing. As you may know, we are going to release our first Android mobile application at the end of this month. And what I want to show you is the currently version. So let's go to another video that will demonstrate what is possible to do and what is going to be possible to do with our current application. So, main idea, it's possible to sign up directly to the cloud, not necessary to pass via your browser or desktop browser to access on it. We are going to support the host part, so the login page that are already present. So there's no, it will be possible to support cloud or new cloud based on public API or on-premise. This one, I just want to use the cloud API. So one other thing, is possible to manage not only one account, but multiple accounts. So it's possible to have maybe dozens of on-premise accounts or cloud accounts. We are going to support all these things. But we are going to display only one account at the first time. So it's not possible to have a mix, but only one account at one time. So it's possible to have access to all your activities. So we can click on it on one specific activities, and this specific activities is associated to a document object. You can have access directly to this document object, read this metadata, look at this version, add the comments or access to the tags, download it, modify it, and upload it again. So it's possible to access also to the document library, so access to all the document folder, to browse your folder, to have access. We support paging, so here we have a loading in process, for example, for 50 items. So if there's more than 50 items, we are not going to load all information, but 50 by 50. We provide also the list of all your seats, so you can filter by all your seats, my seats, or favorite seats. We support also paging for this part, so if you reach the bottom, we are going to load all the next page of information for you. We can define this part. So when you click on a specific seat, you have access directly to the document library associated to this seat. We support thumbnails for both cloud and on-premise. We have a quick access to the path, so it's possible to reach, instead of clicking a background button every time to go up, we simply have a quick access to all these things. We support deletion, creation of folder and documents. It's possible to edit metadata. For the moment, it's only possible to edit name, description, and tags. So for example, here we are going to rename the folder. We refresh the view and you have access to all the latest information. We are going to support some aspects, so like the geographic or EXIF access, metadata, sorry. So if you have a geographic information, it's possible to display it inside Google Map, for example. You can, of course, open the document, display it with an application that is already installed in your device. So, for example, to a view, to an image with a gallery. So it's possible also to share your document. So you can share as attachment or via a clickable link for the cloud. So you can send your information, send your content, send your document via Gmail, via your mail client, or via another application. You can, of course, create and add your comment to a specific document. The other part, it's possible to upload a file, to take photo, make video, record audio. So there's no only one thing to import this information. So you can choose a file inside your device and upload it directly to your Alfresco server. And if you refresh it, you can have access, of course, to the information from your folder. Oops. Let's go back to the presentation. Okay, as it already mentioned, it's going to be available at the end of this month, and it will support both phone device, different type of device, tablet device. And one question I have a lot of time is, why have you been so long to implement and to release this part? It's because, as I said, it's just a question of perspectives. The Alfresco Mobile SDK is my major works, and the Alfresco Android client is just the UI library and how we can make together a user experience that is going to be better. And since I'm in Alfresco, my 8 months, I spent nearly 6-7 months only to create the Alfresco Mobile SDK and 1 month to create the Alfresco Android client. So the main idea is, what is really important for us is to provide you the mobile SDK that will help you to create your own information, your own application, to create the best Alfresco client that is possible. So the idea, as conclusion, to infinity and beyond. So are you ready? Are you ready to launch the Alfresco Mobile SDK, to use it inside your own application, to create something that is bigger than our application? I'm really excited that, as I said, next year in Alfresco DevCon 2013, the idea is really use our SDK, create your own application, take all the information, all the services we are provided to create something that is bigger than our application. Our application is going to be generic, basic, as Alfresco server side. We are not going to implement some specific part for, I don't know, for healthcare, for transport, some specific solution. We are going to provide only general and specific. So if next year you will have some really good, really important implementation, please share it. Please share it with us, with the Alfresco Mobile team, and we will be pleased to exchange this information and everything. And yes, the last thing, don't forget, do great works. Raise the Alfresco very high and create your very important and simple application. Thank you very much, and don't hesitate to write me a presentation on Alfresco portal. Thank you.